Anything you put your mind to, you can get. But they don't tell you the full story. And I was still showing up late. I was still clocking into work after my lunch break. And I was missing my performance goals. If you can't control your own time, you can't consider yourself him. What up, fellas? I know you've heard before, whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve, you can get. And although that's cliche and it doesn't sound very detailed and come with extra steps that maybe you don't believe it. But to be honest with you, fellas, that's actually 100% true. Anything you put your mind to, you can get. But they don't tell you the full story. When they say anything you put your mind to, you can get, they fail to mention to include the work. So you put your mind to it and you put your work to it, then you can get it. Anything that I've actually put my mind to and my effort to, I've achieved it. Anybody that really knows me will tell you, if I really want something, I'm dedicated, I'm disciplined, and I'm gonna get it. First, you gotta want it, think about it, see yourself with it, put the effort in to get it, and then you'll attain it. I've done this with my credit score. I've done this with starting my businesses. I've done this with my income. I've done this with getting my certifications. I've even done it with where I live at. All of these things were a thought first. First, I imagined what I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be successful, and I knew I wanted certain things. So I knew I needed a high credit score. I knew I needed certain certifications to back behind me so I could be more marketable when I'm applying for these jobs. So I knew what I wanted to be in my head years down the line. So I started to take the steps to achieve that. So yes, when people say you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. Yes, it starts off as a thought first, but then the effort has to come right after that. And this is actually backed by research. People who actually write down and mentally rehearse their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. And fellas, I'm human just like you're human. So if it's possible for me to do it, it's 100% possible for you to do it. So when it comes to putting your mind to something, yeah, you can do that. You can think about it. I don't have to teach you how to do that. But when it comes to the effort part, I'm gonna tell you guys some of the things that I've did to work on my time management that increased my productivity and my effort towards my goals. Fellas, I used to be a master procrastinator. I used to do everything last minute my whole life. Schoolwork, projects at work. I would show up to events late. I used to do everything last minute. I've gotten fired from one of the best jobs I've ever had at Porsche because I was lazy, inconsistent, doing everything half-assed and last minute. And eventually it caught up to me. And this thing of procrastination, it isn't rare. As we become adults, we have more things that we have to worry about and that could potentially be distractions for us. Statistically speaking, 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators. When I was at Porsche and we were working remote, my desk was in my room, literally 2 steps away from my bed. And I was still showing up late. I was still clocking into work after my lunch break, and I was missing my performance goals. So eventually they let me go, which they had every right to. And after that, I became depressed and went very hard on myself because I knew I had untapped potential. I knew I could do better. That was the first job I've ever been let go of. And it wasn't because I didn't know the knowledge. It's because of my efforts. I told you, you put your mind to it, but the effort has to come right after. And I knew once they fired me, I knew that I had to bounce back, and I knew I could. So I already had the thought of it. And I knew with the right systems, habits, and structures, that would be no problem for me. When I lock in, I could do anything I want. And honestly, fellas, that's when I actually started my self-improvement journey. Fellas, I want you to get your pen and your paper and take notes. When it comes to effort, it's not saying, oh, you don't want it, or oh, you won't do it. It's more so eliminating the bad habits and gaining the good habits that will multiply your efforts so that way you can get to your goal a lot faster. Even up until this year, I've been working on myself, but I wasn't necessarily managing my time correctly. Things that should have been taking me 3 days were taking me 10. I kept asking myself, where's your time going? On the weekends, I was sleeping in, waking up late, eating bullshit, going to the club late, drinking alcohol, getting in the house at 5 a.m. in the morning, just in the club, smoking hookah, drinking Don Julio, just life passing me by. So not only was outside assisting on my lack of time management, but also my phone. The average person spends at least 7 hours on their phone daily. But me, I was spending like 10 hours minimum on my phone. That's literally like half the day. So as I was taking the steps, I was self-aware, and I felt as though like if I set up the screen time on my phone, I'll be able to manage it better. And once I seen that I was spending 10 hours on screen time by 5 p.m. in the afternoon and the day wasn't nowhere near over, I knew it was a serious problem. So I no longer had to ask myself, like, how am I managing my life? I had to go a little deeper and ask myself, how is the right way to manage my life? So let's talk about breaking and creating habits. In the book Atomic Habits, it talks about making good habits easier and bad habits harder. This is called friction. Whether we reduce the friction by making things easier or we increase the friction by making things harder. Your brain automatically chooses what's easier. Example, I used to have trouble waking up early, but as soon as I set my alarm clock and set it on the floor, so now when it goes off in the morning, I'm forced to actually get up out the bed to go turn it off. That made the good habit a bit easier for me. Or when I put my book on my pillow knowing that I lay down every night, me seeing that book when I lay down, it reminded me that I need to read. That's decreasing the friction. We could take it a step further, fellas. Let's talk about pornography. A lot of y'all are stuck on that pornography loop because you're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and that type of shit is easily accessible. And that's why it's hard for a lot of y'all to quit, because we don't realize that it's actually ruining our focus. The first thing I tell my brothers at HTU is to delete the apps. If it's not making you money or you're not using it to communicate with family, delete the apps, because constant stimulation lowers your focus and your discipline. So when we talk about creating good habits, let's talk about the momentum. The last thing that you do at night and the first thing that you do in the morning is very important. Think about when you were a kid and Christmas was the next day, or you had a field trip the next day, or you got a fresh fit and you got excited to show your crush in class the next day. You couldn't sleep and you woke up excited. You had no problem waking up the next morning because you were that excited and you set the momentum the day before. That's momentum. This is tied to the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain holds on to meaningful things. So like for me personally, I have vision boards that I hang up in my kitchen that I walk through at least 20 times a day, so that every time I open my refrigerator or every time I walk to the trash can, I'm reminded of my goals and where I want to take my life. Or I have my journal on my counter that I sit down at and I eat and I work. So when I do sit down, I see my journal and I write down my goals, or I go back and I reflect on what I've been through throughout the years. Or even when I set that reminder in my Google Calendar to look at the letter to self, the letter that I wrote myself 5 years from now, and where I want to be and the things I want to achieve. Or we can even talk about my habit tracker on my whiteboard that I have in my living room. Just walking by, seeing that I marked off my habits 4 days in a row and I want to make it a 5th. Those are the things that get me hyped throughout the day and before I go to sleep, that helps me build momentum for the next. I'm shaping my environment and I'm structuring my environment to keep success on my mind at all times. One thing that took me to the next level was my deep work. So it's not just momentum, fellas, because energy, it doesn't go away, it just transfers. So like you have the energy, but it's like, what are you doing with that energy? You have the momentum, but what are you doing with that momentum? You gotta eat the frog. And what that means is you gotta do the hardest task first thing in the morning. So with me, I get in my deep work first thing in the morning because there's less distractions. There's no phone calls. I don't have to run errands. People are asleep, so I can get the most of my work done. I set a 90-minute timer and I just get to work. But while you're on your deep work, you gotta be aware of your time. And honestly, this isn't just with deep work. This is when I'm in the gym too. Just timing my breaks in between sets is very important. Timing the things that you need to do is what's going to take you to the next level, save you time. So before, when I was in deep work, I'll be working 10 minutes, but then I'll pick up my phone, I'll scroll for 20, and then I'll work for 10 minutes, then somebody will text me and I'll be on the phone for 20 minutes. Then I'll work for 10 minutes, then another distraction will come. So really, I wasn't making real progress. And then that explains why I got 10 hours of screen time on a daily basis. So after that, I started setting time limits on my apps on my phone. I started using the Opal app, which locks my social media apps on my phone. So with that happening, it increased my productivity. Other things that I timed is my cooking. Like cooking used to take me forever because I used to be BSing. But when I started timing myself cook and making my meals, it didn't take me no more than 20 minutes. And then the days that I meal prep, that's even better. I saved me a lot of time. They explain this as the Parkinson's law. Work expands the fill time that's given. So wasting time on these things were killing my momentum without me even knowing. Let's talk about distractions. I wasn't procrastinating because I was lazy. I was distracted. I was distracted by my environment, by social media, by the outside noise that had nothing to do with me and was not helping me get to the next level and become him. So to fix these things, I put my phone on do not disturb. I turned my notifications off on my apps. Some of my apps I even deleted. And then at first, I was still open my phone and go to the apps and they weren't even there. That's when I knew it was a real habit. Statistically proven, the average person picks up their phone 2,600 times per day. And I promise you, I was one of those people. It's like when I was bored, I'll pick up my phone. When it was an awkward moment, I'll pick up my phone. When I was in a room and didn't want to talk to nobody, I'll pick up my phone. When I was eating and I wanted to kill time, I'll pick up my phone. So a 30-minute lunch would turn into an hour lunch because I was just on my phone scrolling. Another thing that took me to the next level is I made my habits very clear to myself, because I understood that vague goals don't get done. I can't just sit here and say, oh, I'm gonna work out. You have to be very detailed. Studies show when you say I will behavior at this time, at this location, you're up to 3 times likely to actually follow through. I will pray at 5 a.m. in my living room. I will complete my power list at my house at 9 p.m. I will go to the gym at 3 p.m. at 24-hour fitness. It's like that clarity makes the execution way easier. Fellas, these are a few things that took me to the next level. This is only part 1. I'm gonna drop part 2 tomorrow. But make sure y'all bring y'all pen and y'all pad, because I'm really giving y'all game on some of the things that help me with my productivity and my focus. Because honestly, if you can't control your own time, you can't consider yourself him. So if you're ready to take control of your own time and build structure, eliminate distractions and lock into your deep work, and actually build habits that help you become him, then click the link in the bio and we'll see if you're a good fit for HTU. But fellas, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is not for everybody. So don't click that link if you're not ready to put the work in to become him. The sacrifice, the discipline, and the effort that I put in to get here, everyone's not comfortable doing. But if you are, fellas, understand this. It's not just you on this journey, it's us. And like I say at the end of every video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all social platforms. Fellas, we're a quarter way through the year. It's time to perform.